Hey everyone, my name is Laura Fortner and I'm with Sociology 305, Section 2, and this is my stand-up 3 for my Fear of Crime survey. So discussing my survey, basically the goal of my survey was to examine the fear of crime amongst the students at Southeastern on campus, and my study is particularly important because it examines how safe the students on our campus feel. In discussing one variable, the level of measurement for the overall safety feeling among Southeastern students is ratio level variable, and the correct statistical method to use is the claim about one population mean method, assuming an independent sample. This is the correct method because only one population was sampled from, and the claim was about the population mean, and the responses provided by the students were not influenced by each other. So the steps based on my research, starting with step 1 by stating the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis states that the population mean safety feeling among students at Southeastern is 0. And the alt hypothesis, on the other hand, is population mean safety feeling among students at Southeastern is not equal to 0. And this moves on to step 2, which is setting the significance level. And based on my survey, we set the significance level to 0.05. In step 3, we determine the appropriate statistical method, remembering to state and verify all assumptions, which moves us on to step 4, and where we determine the p-value and compare it to the significance level. So do we reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis? Well, because we are conducting a two-tailed test, the default p-value, which is 0.000, provided by SPSS software, is correct. Since the p-value, 0.000, is less than the significance level of 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis and we accept the alt hypothesis. And that moves us on to step 5, which is just interpreting the results and concluding all of what we just stated. Basically, in terms of Southeastern students, at the alpha level of 0.05 level, sufficient evidence exists to conclude that the population mean safety feeling score at Southeastern is statistically significantly different from 0. So moving on to discussing two variables, the level of measurement for the overall safety feeling is interval level, and the female and non-female is dichotomous nomial level variable according to my survey, which is basing off gender and the overall safety feeling of non-females and females. And the correct statistical method is the difference between two population mean method, assuming independent samples and equal population standard deviations. This is appropriate. This is the appropriate method because we are comparing two different populations, and we are interested in the population means and the responses of the analytical units that do not influence one another. We also are assuming equal population standard deviations, and this assumption is appropriate because non-females are basically socialized to be a little bit more, have a little bit more fear, and also are more cautious about crime and their surroundings, whereas men are thought to be a little bit more fearless, and this kind of reflects how both men and women face similar social stigma for acting outside of these socializations in society. So the steps according to this, starting with step 1, stating the null and the alt again hypothesis. The null is basically stating that the population mean fear of crime among female students is the same as the population mean of crime among non-female students or male students. And the alt is basically stating that the population mean of fear of crime among female students is different from the non-female students. Step 2, the significance level is basically alpha equals 0.05 again. And step 3, determine the appropriate statistical method, and remember to state and verify all assumptions, moving us on to step 4, where because we're conducting a two-tailed test, the p-value equals 0.015, and since the p-value, which is 0.015, is less than the significance level 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis and accept the alt hypothesis. And this moves us on to our conclusion and interpreting these results. At the alpha alpha equaling 0.05 level, sufficient evidence exists to conclude that the population mean fear of crime among female students is different from the population mean of the fear of crime among non-female students or male students. And that's all. Thank you.